Salam sejahtera semua. Hari ini saya akan membincangkan 4.4 penyerahan Sarawak kepada kerajaan British. This is your chapter 4.4 and we're going to talk about the process of Sarawak being handed over to the British government. Now, before we jump straight into 4.4, what have you learned in 4.1? Well, 4.1, we focused on the BMA, your British military administration that happened right after the Japanese left Tanah Melayu. Then, we focused about how no one liked BMA, thus they started a new one, the Malayan Union. But as explained in your 4.3, the reaksi penentangan Malayan Union shows that really no one was a fan of Malayan Union. Now, this is all focusing on the Tanah Melayu, which I would specify to being what we can now consider your West Malaysia, Semenanjung Malaysia, the Peninsula Malaysia. Now, today we're going to talk about a different side of Malaysia. We're going to focus on Sarawak, which is your west side, the Borneo side. So, without further ado, let's come to penyerahan Sarawak kepada kerajaan British, because the story here is a little bit different. Now, setelah Perang Dunia Kedua tamat, on the 11th of September 1945, 1945, tentera Australia mendarat di Kuching, memperkenalkan pentadbiran tentera iaitu British Borneo Civil Affairs Unit, which your textbook gives a short form of BBCAU. These were introduced by your tentera Australia, the Aussies, okay? Now, moving onwards. Next, in 1946, which is a year later, British memperkenalkan BMA. Remember, we gave the recap. BMA happens in your 4.1 if you don't remember. Then finally, on the 1st of July 1946, Charles Vinderbrook to be specific, menyerahkan Sarawak kepada kerajaan British. Dan tindakan ini mendapat tentangan hebat daripada masyarakat tempatan, meaning that Charles Vinderbrook then gave Sarawak to the British government, and this caused a great uprising from the local people. So we're going to explain why. Why did we even have to give up Sarawak to the British government? Before we start, a little recap. If you don't remember, Sarawak was under the hands of the Brooke family. The Raja Puteh, Brooke family. Okay, so the Brooke family, first led by James Brooke, then Charles Brooke, and we come to the final, we would say predecessor of Sarawak, the final Raja Puteh, with that being the White King, Charles Vinderbrook, the White King of Sarawak. So, why did His Majesty, mengapakah beliau mencetuskan idea untuk menyerahkan Sarawak kepada kerajaan British? The factors they give you in the textbook are, number 1, masalah pewarisan takhta, meaning he had an issue with his heir who was going to take his throne of being Raja Puteh. Number 2, desakan daripada kerajaan British. Desakan means almost a kind of pressure being put on someone. But in other words, I would like to call it as almost 强迫. You're being forced. You're being urged, okay? Unwillingly. This is not a good thing. Pressure. Desakan. And finally, masalah kewangan, an issue with your money. Tiada wang, okay? So let's come here first to the fact on the heirs. See, the thing about Charles Vinderbrook is that he had no male heirs. He had no male sons. He had no sons. Why I say male sons? It's kind of odd. So, Vinderbrook, or his full name, Charles Vinderbrook, tidak mempunyai ataupun tiada anak lelaki. He had no sons. Untuk menggantikan tempatnya, to replace him. This is ganti tempatnya. So, what will happen next? Well, beliau semakin tua dan uzur. So, As he aged on, no one stays youthful forever. Beliau semakin tua, which means old, dan uzo. Uzo means what? Uzo means to be weak, feeble, almost to the point where you can't think for yourself, okay? To the point where that he could not run Sarawak anymore. So you need to push for an heir. But the thing is, Wynebroek isn't completely without relatives, you might think. He can actually easily appoint someone else. But the thing is, Charles Wynebroek engan melantik anak saudaranya, means although he did have relatives, engan means 不想要, he didn't want to, tidak nak, okay? Melantik anak saudara meaning one of his, we will call his nephews, being Anthony Brooke. Now Anthony Brooke, if you don't know, we've mentioned his name before, and we're gonna go through that a little bit, so just keep this name in mind. You're gonna see it again. Anak Bertram Brooke, untuk menggantikannya. He's like, no, I'm not having this lad replace me. So that's the first issue, that he has no heirs and he doesn't want Anthony Brooke to be the new king. Okay? Let's come to the next point. Aside from just having no heirs, see, the British government weren't treating him very nice either. On the 19th of June, the dates aren't important, but why do I emphasize this one of 1944? It's because this is the birthday of Jose Rizal, which is unrelated, but I like Jose Rizal, thus you will also know this. So on the 19th of June 1944, Pejabat Tanah Jajahan, which is located in London, mendesak, you force someone, Wynebroek memberikan kuasa lebih kepada British untuk meluaskan penguasaannya. Meaning they're like, bro, they're forcing them, you need to give us more power towards Sarawak. Give us more power, memberikan kuasa lebih kepada British, so that we can expand our influence. And afterwards, what was the reason for British to want to take Sarawak? Well, tujuan British menjadikan Sarawak sebagai tanah jajahannya ialah untuk menguasai apa? Kekayaan ekonomi. All of this is all about money, okay? It's always coming back to money. And at the same time, it's also to menjaga. Menjaga means to take care of the kepentingan pelaburan British. Okay, pelaburan, if you don't know what that word means, it means investments. That means British wants to use Sarawak as a way to protect their investments because they need the economic riches. They need all these bahan mentah lah, whatever lah, to ensure that there are still people who want to invest in the British. Okay? So why would they have this issue? They don't outright tell you this because you should know by now that during this time, India has already achieved their independence from British. Thus, they're running low on Tanah Jajahan. So, they are pushing, I want to get Sarawak. Now, on the 28th of February 1945, they were like, okay, this is not working. This man's not listening to us. Thus, they're like, we need a new strategy. See, the pejabat, which I just talked about, the pejabat Tanah Jajahan, they were like, alright, you're not listening to us. I'm going to try a different move. Mengutus surat. They're like, we forced you, you didn't listen. Now I'm going to show you a formal letter. Surat kepada Wynebroek. Charles Wynebroek, CVB. Okay. And Wynebroek bersetuju untuk menyerahkan Sarawak. And you're like, wait, what? He just agreed? Didn't he just disagree a few paragraphs ago? Why is he agreeing now? Well, we have to join to our next point. Why did Wynebroek not put up a fight to keep Sarawak in his hands? Well, first and foremost, he was having money issues. He has money problems. See, selepas World War II, Perang Dunia Kedua, maybe I'll write PDK. See, economy Sarawak terjejas. The Japanese came over, they kind of ruined the economy for everyone. Sarawak's economy was in shambles. That is interesting. Terjejas. Lombong minyak musnah dan ladang getah terbiar. Lombong minyak, meaning the place where they mine, the mining of oil, was what? Musnah, destroyed. Meanwhile, referring to their ladang getah, it was abandoned. They don't have any workers. terbiah. So what can they do? Kemudahan kemudahan meaning infrastructures, like what? Hospitals. So you hear kemudahan pendidikan. Then what? Kesihatan. I'm gonna put this symbol for kesihatan. Kesihatan, jalan raya, dan lapangan terbang juga perlu dibaiki. Why would they need to be fixed? Because remember, we had fights before this. We had all of the gerakan guerrilla lah, the ants, the semut, all of this. All of this caused what? Things needing to be repaired. Perlu dibaiki. And to repair shit, what do you need? You can't just build this up with your own hands. You need money to get workers to do this. And Wienerbroek, your CP, Charles Wienerbroek, does not have the ability to do this. Tidak mampu membangunkan negeri Sarawak semula. Membangunkan means bangun means to wake, but in this sense, we mean to rebuild. This guy does not have the money to rebuild Sarawak all over again. He's like, I'm sorry guys, but I really cannot. My life, we're in bankruptcy right now. So that is the points all summarized. Number 1, no child, no son to take over the mess that he has. The rich were like, come on, give it to me. And he's like, you know what, fine, I'll give it to you. Why? Because I'm broke. That's why. So that's the summarization of the factors. Now, what was the process? Okay, what exactly happened? So we're going to come down to the bottom part where I've separated. The process of penyerahan Sarawak kepada kerajaan British. See, semasa pemerintahan Jepun, kerajaan sementara diwujudkan. Sementara means 暂时性. That means it's only for a second. So let me write it on the top. So semasa. Alright, just the Japanese flag over here. See, they had the kerajaan sementara. Let me write it in yellow. A temporary government. And this is where Anthony Brooke comes to play. Because the pengerusi was not Wienerbroek. No, he was not in for this. He was not up with the Japanese. But you know who was? Bertram Brooke. And that's right, his nephew. I'm going to use green for this. Anthony Brooke. They were totally up. They were the pengerusi, the heads. And on 1944, Oliver Stanley, setiausaha tatan jajahan, berunding dengan kerajaan sementara membolehkan British mengambil Sarawak. Bertram Brooke dan Anthony Brooke menolak tawaran tersebut. That means that with the kerajaan sementara 暂时性的 the temporary government, Bertram Brooke and Anthony Brooke, what were they? They were taking the role of pengerusi. And so later on, when the setiausaha tatan jajahan, they've already agreed with what? Agreed with Wienerbroek, like, okay, we're taking back Sarawak. Who was not up with this? Bertram Brooke and Anthony Brooke. They were like, hell no, I'm not giving it to you. So let's see how Oliver Stanley, how did they have to go through these two particular people going against them? Well, number 1, we see timelines on 28th of February 1945. We talked about this, the Pejabat Tanah Jajahan, which by the way is located in London. At least the HQ is. Mengutus surat, they're like, alright, we've scared you, now we're gonna send out the formal letter. Please, you've gotta write soon. We're coming for you, Wienerbroek. Kepada Charles Wienerbroek. Then, meminta beliau menandatangani surat perjanjian dengan George Henry Hall, setiausaha tanah jajahan. So we're gonna put the arrow down here. Menandatangani, this word's very familiar. We've seen a lot of it back in the Malayan Union with your Sir Harold McMichael, okay? So, surat perjanjian. You don't necessarily have to remember the name. For now, I'll just write setiausaha. So, later on the 24th of October 1945, plenty of months later, he suddenly went, okay fine, 我setuju. You can have Sarawak. Then, how was Wienerbroek going to handle this? Well, how was he going to give them it? First and foremost, Charles Wienerbroek menghantar setiausaha peribadinya, his private secretary. Oh no, it's a bit messy. Setiausaha pribadinya. Gerald T. McBrien, you don't really have to remember him, but I'll write the name out so you have a slight remembrance of this character. McBrien. 2. Mendapatkan persetujuan daripada ketua tempatan. Because he couldn't just hand this over. He needed to at least inform the people, like, hey, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna change a lot of how we run things. I'm not gonna change my mind about it, but at least you should know, you know? At least you should get all the ketua tempatan, the local leaders. Okay? So, Gerald T. McBrien, he's like, alright, I'll do my job. So, Gerald T. McBrien ke England. He went to England and bersama dengan dokumen yang ditandatangani oleh Ketua Tempatan Sarawak, Wynebrook bersetuju menyerahkan Sarawak, dan penyerahan dibuat tanpa pengetahuan rakyat Sarawak. That's right. This is the keyword here. Penyerahan. That means the act of giving up Sarawak was done without the public's knowledge. There may be a few ketuas knew, but not the majority of the people. They didn't know they were having a whole government switch. So this is the rakyat of Sarawak. And you can imagine what they might feel. See, later on, kerajaan British, put yellow for this, kerajaan British mengarah Wynebrook mendapatkan kelulusan Majlis Negeri dan persetujuan rakyat Sarawak terlebih dahulu. And the British were like, okay, you've already come here, but maybe you should get the agreement of everyone, not just these not random, these few people you've selected out. Mengarahkan means to give decisions, give orders to. CVB, that you need to dapat everyone, okay? Kelulusan means the passing of the Majlis Negeri, which if you learned already in your Form 3, which is basically the general meeting for Sarawak, persetujuan of all the rakyat before they continue with giving up Sarawak. So, you see, after this, the 2nd of May in 1946, what did they do? Well, kerajaan British, the Brits, menghantar 2 orang ahli parlimen. Let me use this for hantar. 2 people, 2 lads called ahli parlimen. That means they're part of the government parliament party, which is your Gamans and Rhys Williams. So, membuat tinjauan. Tinjauan means what? You want to observe something, almost like spying on something. Okay? You need to check it out, what's going on. And their report, laporan of these 2 lads, Gamans dan Rhys Williams, they were like, okay, berkaitan penyerahan Sarawak dibawa ke Majlis Negeri untuk diundi. They brought this to the Majlis Negeri, which, like I said, is the official meeting for anything in Sarawak. Diundi means what? Means to be voted. You're going to get the majority vote. Okay, so let's come. Hasil tinjauan. What did they get from their report? We use green. Actually, green's a bit much. Let me use orange. See, the hasil, which means the ending. What did they get from this? Number 1, sebahagian besar pribumi menentang. Sebahagian besar, a big chunk of people were not happy with this. They were like, hell no. Pribumi means the local people. That means the people who have been staying on the bumi, which means earth. Menentang. And if you don't know what menentang is, gosh, get your BM up, man. Menentang means to go against. Now, orang Cina menyerah ataupun menyokong penyerahan. They were like, oh, you know what? We're cool with it. And you'll know why later, because the Chinese people were mostly there as slaves and workers, and they were here just to make money. And so having the British take over would solve the economic crisis. They're like, hell yeah, bring them in. So, terdapat penduduk. Penduduk means what? The locals. Yang tidak memahami maksud penyerahan Sarawak. Tidak memahami. That didn't understand what the frig it meant to give away Sarawak. They're like, aren't we already colonized by the Raja Putih? What would make a difference? Since you're British, they're British, it'd be the same thing, no? And that comes to where the Majlis Negeri mengeluarkan rang Undang-undang penyerahan. Like, okay, people don't get what's going on. We need to take a different approach. So, what did they do? Your Majlis Negeri, they're like, okay, let's take matters to our own hands, mengeluarkan this law, which in the English language, they call it the Session Bill. That's what bill means, rang. Undang, let me use my undang-undang symbol. Okay, undang-undang penyerahan, the laws, the rules of it. And keputusan golongan pro penyerahan menang. That means, keputusan means results. The results of the people who are pro, that means they are supporting the act of giving up Sarawak, penyerahan, menang dengan 9 undi. That means 19 versus 16, because 16 people were going against. These are menentang. And this is pro penyerahan. Okay? So after the meeting has happened and the majority vote is there, which is 19 people at least, think like, hey y'all, let's go, penyerahan Sarawak. Well, there's nothing else to do. On the 1st of July, Hari Penyerahan Sarawak diisytiharkan di Kuching. That means they now had the official date planned. Like, okay, we got the votes, let's have it in your capital, Kuching. Don't spell Kuching wrong, Kuching. Then afterwards, taraf negeri naungan British dimansuhkan. Means it was abolished. They're like, alright, dimansuhkan means no longer is Sarawak considered as naungan. That means just under British protection. Now, Sarawak, I'm going to write this in no caps, Sarawak disahkan is legally recognized as tanah jajahan British. That means this is like British getting full control. Remember the word we learned before this, mutlak? You'll see it again, you'll see it here. This is kind of like what mutlak looks like when you have penjajahan. Okay? This is colonization. And that is a summary, that is a brief go through on penyerahan Sarawak kepada kerajaan British. Okay? That is all from me. So I will see you for the next chapter 4.5. Bye bye.